Now, a very good morning. I've been down the driveway with Jack. We've been down there for a walk because I've had my coffee and been wandering about. And I spotted at the end of the driveway, just by the gate, an excellent example of coppicing and pollarding. So when I say coppicing and pollarding, I'm talking about sort of going up the tree to a certain height and then doing what I would call coppicing, but in fact at that height would be pollarding. But anyway, never mind about the terms. I'm going to take you down there and show you how this looks a few years down the line, because I think it's a fantastic example of what I aim to do here over the winter. So, without further ado, we'll set off. Now, this is day 2, by the way, of my juice fast, and all is well. Happily, all is well. Slept very well last night, had so much energy yesterday. This quite often happens on the first, second and third day of a juice fast. Sometimes on day 3 or 4, your energy levels sort of take a dive. But anyway, now I apologise for the sound. Please don't leave comments about couldn't hear you, because I don't have a headphone attachment for my phone. This is actually my phone that I'm using, but I don't have a headphone attachment for it. I did have, and I think I've actually put it down somewhere months and months ago, and I have not been able to find it. Eek! So I'll have to go and buy another one of those at some point in order to allay all those complaints. The sound was terrible. I couldn't hear you, etc. But the reason why I'm doing the video on the phone is because it's much, much faster to upload, and I'm not actually going into town today like I did yesterday. I went in yesterday and I brought, I had already uploaded the video from the camera, and then I did the uploading onto YouTube in a cafe in town, which is much quicker. He sat down because he's thought to himself, God, she's going nowhere at all now. My dear Jack, we're going back off down that driveway. Come on, let's go. He says, I'm not going to move till I see her move. Right, okay. So I'll just kick off my slippers, my slipperoonies, and put on my little waterproof shoes. Now, when I got back from town yesterday, energy levels being high and everything, I set about with my little hand mower, my little push mower, mowing the grass. So you can see I've got a fair bit done here, and all the way up there, look. So, very pleased about that. And walk around this way. You can see where I've poured the boiling water down there, look. It's cleared, or it's almost cleared, all the growth from the stones. So it's a good tip for you all. Use boiling water. So I started my mowing back there where I've just shown you, and then I continued it round here. So you can see where it stopped going up to the car. So I've mown all this, and then I also mowed down along the driveway. So I continued then here. As they say here in Ireland, there's a fine breeze today. So I mowed down the centre of the drive, so I had to go down and up and down again, because obviously the mower isn't this width. I just kept going. Someone, I think it was Dan, who asked me yesterday in a comment, Dan, you said, would you get someone in to help, or would you get someone in to do the coppicing, the cutting back? And I said no, I'll do it all myself. It's a case of having to. I wouldn't have, I actually wouldn't have that amount of excess money to be able to employ someone to come in. And I'm not that bothered actually, because I'm quite happy just going along here myself and getting things done. You know, it's what I've done now for 15 years. So why on earth would I suddenly stop and sit on my derriere directing other people? That's not my style. It never has been my style. I'm very much a doer. I like to get out there and get things done. And as long as I can walk and my arms can move, that's how I'll be. So if you click back on this YouTube site, say in another 20 years' time, and you hear this old voice saying, yes, I'm just out here now, you'll know it's me, and I've kept going. Some wonderful berries this year as well on the hawthorn. The hawthorn, when it grows on its own, you know, is a little fairy thorn. When it grows on its own in the middle of the field, you know. But look at these beautiful berries, aren't they gorgeous? Anyway, enough of my waffling. Let's get on down to this tree. Now, it's a birch tree. Birch trees are wonderful to coppice and to pollard, but they must be done either well after they've come into leaf or when the leaves are dropping. So this is a birch tree which hasn't been coppiced or pollarded, all right? So can you see it's going all the way up there, look, and it's going to be waving about quite a bit in the wind because it's so tall and the girth on it is quite slim. But just down here a wee bit by the gate, now is this wonderful birch tree, which, let me just pull back, look at that, isn't that magnificent? Look at all the stems on it. I counted 9 good healthy stems on this, and if I come right into it, you can see now there's a bit of forsythia growing in front of it, so you have to sort of go in past this forsythia here, and that's the actual tree. But let me just pull back now and explain what happened here. So here, can you see there's a little lamp hanging there, and it's hanging from what was a little weather vane, right? There was a little cockerel on the top of here, but it's since come off a long time ago. So I endeavoured, once I'd planted this little tree, and it was just a tiny wee thing like this here, I endeavoured to keep it at around this height here, so as not to interfere with the spinning cockerel on the weather vane, you see. So over the course of, say, I think it was about 2, maybe 3 years, I constantly pruned the tree, just thinking to myself, well, just, you know, keep it from interfering with the weather vane. But eventually the tree just took over, and I thought, okay, tree, your space, away with you there, keep going. And I took the cockerel out, and as you can see, the weather vane now is just encompassed by the tree. And this little this little lamp has been up there for about a good 13 years now, because I hung it there one Samhain with a candle in it, look, and it's been there ever since. Now it's broken on one side, the glass is broken on one side, but there's no bother on that. So that's a fine example of coppicing or pollarding. Like I say, pollarding is when you go up to a certain height. So this was, I suppose in essence this was coppicing, but you'd normally coppice down a wee bit, a wee bit further down. So I'm going to just walk to the end of the driveway here and then look back so you can see this beautiful tree. Isn't it wonderful? And you've got all those stems, so you've got a massive amount of wood. So now, if I want to take out, I could take out half those stems easily, and they would log up into beautiful little logs, you see? So this, of course, this is a birch tree. Now the important thing about birch trees is that you do not go cutting them. I would say after midwinter. I would not cut them after the midwinter solstice, because the sap starts to rise in them. And if you cut them at that point, what happens is the tree can then bleed to death. The sap just keeps pouring out from the wound, and the tree literally bleeds to death. So the time to cut them would be any time, say a month or so after midsummer and up until midwinter. And that would be a safe time. Now that's in my book, of course. There's lots of experts on these issues that can and will give you contending advice. But anyway, that's what I've found here. And that's what I've discovered about trees. That the best way to get to know them is through observation and through engagement. So I was continually engaging with this tree, you see, and we were having a bit of a battle, and eventually I said, well, okay, my little birch, off you go. And so we have this beautiful, beautiful, healthy mass of birch trees are extraordinarily beautiful because they look so delicate, but they're not. They're little oxes, and of course they shed beautiful little leaves. You get that wonderful feeling of autumn before autumn begins. So I continued yesterday, or when I got back from town, mowing this driveway, so you can see now, looking back, looks nice and neat. And then I took my little hand mower out here in the road and I mowed along here, give it a quick tidy up as I went. Here we go. Does a grand job, doesn't it, the little hand mower, the wee push mower. Don't ask me the name of the company that made it, because it's a cylinder push mower, and there's lots of companies making these, and I don't advertise. There's the Michaelmas daisies, look, starting to come out. Aren't they beautiful? So here we have this lovely edge. I did all the way up along here, and I didn't use the grass box, so all the little bits of cut grass, mown grass are still down there, and that goes to feed the grass, you know. And of course you've got these lovely birch leaves like coming down. This is more birch here. So all the way up, I went right up to my neighbour's property, look, and mowed right up to her gate. Oh, there we go. So that's what I was busy doing yesterday. So I'll scoot back in because I'm still in my gym jams. Lord knows what my neighbours say about me. Well, as Oscar Wilde said, there's only one thing worse than being talked about, and that's not being talked about. So, talk away. So the hand mower does a fine job. The push mower, the hand mower, whatever one would care to call it. Now, sort of nip back up the driveway here. There's a lovely kind of a tunnel effect now along this driveway. Many of you have remarked on it. And look at the beautiful berries now out on the Lacestia formosa. Isn't that beautiful? There we go, look, there's some black ones there. When those are squished, you get the beautiful scent of vanilla chocolate. And there's a wee insect on there, look, having its breakfast. It's having a vanilla chocolate breakfast. It's got its backside to me now. Much loved by insects and birds, but particularly the blackbird. So you can see along here. Lots of planting. So this little birch tree here, I'm going to be doing a similar thing with it, I think. See, that's just that single stem. And it'll be much more protected if I take it down a bit. Because like I say, the trunk, you know, the girth of the tree will really fatten out and give it much more stability. So I walked through the woods here with my coffee and sort of made wee mental notes, as I do, of what needs to be coppiced, what can be harvested. Still working on the pond, I'll get back to that in the coming days, no doubt. There's another little birch there, and I think I did actually I've actually got two in there. I think I did sort of, you know, just kind of finger and thumb pull out the wee growing tips. Because that's also a form of coppicing, you know, when the tree is very young. This is another wee birch here. That's been battered a wee bit by the wind, so I'm going to coppice that. What I'll do is I'll coppice that by half. I'll take it down by half, and that'll give it more stability during the winter, and then allow it to romp away then once the growing season begins. This is another little birch in here, and as you can see from the 3 stems coming out there, I did a similar thing, but that was just the kind of fingertip, you know, where you just literally squeeze out between your finger and your thumb the growing tips. You can't do it at this time of the year because the wood has already begun to harden up, but you can do it during the growing season. And the tree won't bleed if you do that, because you're just literally, just nipping it. You're not sawing open a wound, So, back up the driveway. There he comes. Now there's some more Leicester famosa. You see, I had that growing in a wee pot and it became root bound. And one day I just came down here with the pot and I emptied it out of the pot and literally onto the side of the driveway, and I pushed a few stones and things up against it. And then a few days later I threw a bit of compost in around it. Very laissez-faire type gardening. But Mother Earth is very laissez-faire. She doesn't go doing the big prep and the big celebratory plant. Things just sort of fall into place. So much of which I've planted in the same way, especially along the driveway, because the driveway was just stone. And it was a case of, well, there you go. Get in there and do your best. So, yeah, that's the Gunera manicata. So, I shall bid you all adieu. I've got to get over to the post office in Ballyfarndon now. I have a few books to post. Not that many, I think only 3. So, certainly my writing efforts has not supported me this week at all. But I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon, because that money came in this week, and believe you me, it's very welcome indeed. And I want to say a massive thank you to all my patrons. And I hope you don't mind that everything I do I keep public, because what I do here is about Mother Earth, and it's about encouraging people to plant trees and encouraging people to not just form a relationship with Mother Earth, but maybe to renew their relationship with Mother Earth. And that's all I do it for. And if I was to be making all these videos simply, to make some money on Patreon, which, by the way, I resisted for several years. For several years I had my subscribers, saying to me, open a Patreon account, and I said, no, I don't want that. I'm a bit of a frugal minimalist anyway. And so when I did open a Patreon account, I was very, not just pleasantly surprised, I was overwhelmed by the amount of support that people have given me, and with none of the stuff that Patreon account holders seem to go for, which is, you get this gift, you get that gift. I did make a few promises in the early days, and I wasn't able to keep to them because just time-wise. And then I thought, well, if people are upset with that, sure, they'll just stop supporting me and I'll leave it like that. But I'm very overwhelmed, and I'm very humbled actually as well, because the support I get on Patreon reminds me of the fact that people appreciate what I do. And I want to thank you all for that. Thank you all, my Patreon supporters. And whether you support me on Patreon or you buy a book or a map, or you just simply come here and in your own way take little bits of Bealtaine into your own life, whether it's the philosophy I talk about and live, or whether it's actually looking at your land, whether it's your garden or your window box, whatever it is, it's the earth. You just look at it in a different way, or even if you don't have that, if it's just seeing Mother Earth in a different way, then my job's done, and I'm happy with that. So the fella's decided to sit down here. He got a bit vexed yesterday because I ran out of dog food. So before I went out into town to upload the video, because as you know I don't have Wi-Fi here, you know, I just have the hotspot on the phone. But before I did that, I did a bit of a cannonball run into Ballyfarnan to get him a big bag of dog food and fill up his bowl, because he gets very vexed if his bowl goes empty. Now he doesn't go eating it, you know, straight away. He would leave it for hours and hours, but he just likes to know it's there. So I suppose like us, we don't like to think that we don't have any food. You know, if we have the food, we're a bit more relaxed about it. So, talking of which, I've got to get in there and make myself some juice. And there's the sun come out. So, blessings of the Friday morning to you, and just earth blessings to you, and have a beautiful day wherever you are. I'm very mindful of all those people facing into storms at the moment, or who have faced into storms and are now trying to pick up the pieces of their lives. Mother Earth is trying her best to cope with everything, you know? Blessings to you all.